For the first time in the nation's history, a former president faces criminal charges. A Manhattan grand jury returned an indictment of Donald Trump yesterday with an arraignment expected next week. Now, while the charges remain sealed, Trump has been under investigation by the Manhattan DA's office for alleged hush money paid to former porn star Stormy Daniels over an alleged affair that the former president denies.
We want to bring in our ABC News senior investigative reporter Aaron Katersky and ABC News legal contributor Kate Shog. And Aaron, let's start with you. So we don't expect the former president to be here in New York City until early next week, according to his legal team, yet law enforcement is already preparing. You're there, you're at the courthouse. What's it like?
They are prepared, and today we've learned, Kana, they are going to do a walkthrough here at 100 Center Street, the criminal courts building in Manhattan. They're going to check out the 15th floor where the courtroom where former President Trump is believed to be arraigned. They'll check out security there. The NYPD, the U.S. Secret Service, the court officers, the U.S. Marshals are all involved in this highly choreographed surrender, maybe the most highly choreographed one we've ever seen at this building, and it has seen its share of high-profile characters. Mark David Chapman, the killer of John Lennon. John Gotti was even here for an arraignment once. Sean Puffy Combs, Harvey Weinstein, but never a criminal defendant quite like the one that is due here as early as Tuesday, when former President Trump is expected to arrive and enter his plea of not guilty to these criminal charges, at which point those charges will be unsealed, and we'll have a look at this indictment that the grand jury returned Thursday afternoon.
Aaron, you just said it will be highly choreographed. So what are you hearing now about President Trump's upcoming surrender and that arraignment? What's that going to look like?
You know, his lawyer says, Gio, he's not going to be handcuffed like other criminal defendants, but he may well be fingerprinted and photographed, even though his fingerprints have been on file here in New York for a long time, since he used to have a gun permit. And the mugshot may not be taken, depending on whether the authorities feel it's necessary. They're going out of their way to try and treat Trump like any other criminal defendant, but of course he isn't like any other criminal defendant. The DA's office, for security reasons, had hoped that he would surrender today to minimize the time between the handing up of the indictment by the grand jury and his surrender. But his legal team is now negotiating for Tuesday, and that's why you see this heavy police presence. So far, no protests have materialized the way Trump has called for, but they're prepared for anything, and they know that Trump himself predicted potential death and destruction. So law enforcement agencies all night long were monitoring social media for any signs of that kind of potential violence.
Yeah, clearly taking it seriously. Aaron, our thanks to you. And now, Kate, the indictment is currently under seal, but we're hearing reports about what could potentially be a large volume of charges here, maybe even 2 or 3 dozen. So when should we expect to learn about these specific charges? And also, do you think there could be something in there that could bump this from a misdemeanor to perhaps a felony?
In terms of the timing, well, there could be leaks between now and the arraignment, but we won't actually have the formal unsealing of that indictment until the date of the arraignment, which it sounds like is most likely to happen on Tuesday. So that's when the public will actually get a chance to look at what is in this indictment. In terms of what it might contain, it is pretty clear that the heart of the case that the Manhattan DA is building is essentially the treatment of these hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. The payments themselves are not the crime. It is the treatment of those payments as essentially legal fees, fraudulently because they weren't legal fees, which under New York law is a misdemeanor. To your question about whether this could in fact be a felony, I think the assumption is that yes, there is a felony charge in this indictment because this business records crime can be bumped up to a felony if it is committed in order to further another crime. The question then becomes what that other crime might be. Maybe a campaign finance violation, maybe some sort of tax offense.
Kate, help us understand this, because the feds have not charged Trump with anything, okay? This is the state of New York. Now, if this has to do with campaign finance laws, wouldn't that be something for the feds?
It's a great question, Gio. I mean, yes, ordinarily, federal campaign finance laws are enforced by the federal government. So it would certainly be unusual for the Manhattan DA to be using a federal offense to bump this state misdemeanor up to a felony. The other possibility is that it could be a state campaign finance violation, but that would be unusual as well because, state law is not ordinarily what governs presidential campaign. That's federal law. So either theory is fraught with a degree of uncertainty if, in fact, that is what the DA is using to make this misdemeanor into a felony. Potentially uncharted legal terrain doesn't mean a judge might not, buy the theory. It certainly could be plausible, but I think it's fair to say at least untested on either of those two routes.
Yeah, untested is the term we do keep hearing with this.
Yep.
And we do keep hearing the term unprecedented, of course,
Yes.
when it comes to this as well. So Aaron Katersky and Kate Shaw, our thanks to both of you this morning. We really appreciate it.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.